I have an amazing guest, Malcolm Lawson. So when I was starting my YouTube journey, there was only a couple people that were really focusing on doing YouTube and figuring out how to do it the right way. Malcolm and Christina were two of the people that I mastermind a lot with and learned from. And from there, my channel exploded, and I've been able to help other people with their channels as well. And so when it comes to staying on top of what's happening with YouTube, how to grow a channel, I like to always refer to Malcolm. Even though I feel like I know it all, I feel like having the opportunity to be somewhere where we're sharing ideas and helping other agents is absolutely phenomenal. So if you are ready, I am going to bring Malcolm on, but you got to drop a one in the comment section first, so I know you are here, and then we are going to get started. Malcolm Lawson, welcome to the channel.
Hey, man, I'm super excited to be here. I love talking YouTube. And yeah, man, you and I have been masterminding YouTube probably like 5 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about how long we've been on this journey together like this. But yeah, dude, I'm ready to dive in. I'm still a huge YouTuber, still believe it is the best platform for lead generation out of all of the social media platforms out there. So let's go ahead and dive in, man. Let's do it.
Perfect. So do me a favor, if you're new to YouTube and you're trying to learn, just write in the comment section, I'm learning. If you're trying to hone your skills, just say doing it, or just let me know in the chat so we know what we're getting into here. Also, I've got like a pre set list of what we're going to talk about, but if there are questions that you have, please drop them in the chat and I will cut off Malcolm to ask the questions. So I want to get to all your questions, but I think when we started talking about what we want to talk about here, we were talking about first doing AI, right? So using AI to come up with your titles, thumbnails, and things like that. So let's start there, Malcolm.
Yeah, so AI is amazing, man. Every day I feel like I find more and more ways to incorporate it into my business. And there's a lot of really great ways to incorporate this into YouTube as well. And I'd say the probably the biggest way that I use it is with the titles. And titles are really important on YouTube. A lot of people kind of underestimate them, but I think that it's important to optimize them for the human being clicking on the title. You need to try to make a title that describes what the video is actually about, is informative, but also very clickable. And ChatGPT is great for doing that because sometimes it just gets, your brain just gets kind of burnt out. And so what I like to do is I come up with a quick title and then I'll post that into ChatGPT and I'll tell it something like, I'm a YouTuber. This is the title of my YouTube video. Create 10 variations of this that are very sensational and clickable that are under 60 characters. And it'll just like that, it'll give me 10 variations of that. And a lot of times what ends up happening is I'll find like a word or a phrase and I kind of piece together titles from the list of titles that it gives me. But I find that invaluable. Like writing titles is tricky and it takes a lot of brain power and it is pretty important. And so using ChatGPT to write titles, good clickable titles for your videos, I think is probably the easiest and number one way to use it. I've also recently been using it for descriptions as well, partially because I'm lazy, right? That's a big part of it. But there's a couple different things you can do, right? I have a Chrome plugin that I can upload a video and then the plugin will create a transcript of that video and import that transcript into ChatGPT. And then I can say, hey, write me a description for my YouTube video based on this transcript. And it can give me, one paragraph, two paragraphs about that video that I can just copy and paste and put that into the description. The other way is you can actually get it to use it to get tags as well. Tags are not that significant anymore on YouTube. Like that's the truth, but it is still best practices. And it gets a little tricky with how you have to format the question. But if you say, give me a list of um, let's say like 25 YouTube video tags to go along with this video, separate them out by commas and optimize them for SEO. Something like that. You can get a list of tags you can copy and paste into it. So those three things are really easy ways that you can incorporate ChatGPT. Now, there's other ways though. Now with the Dolly extension on ChatGPT, where you can create images, I often will create background images for my thumbnails using ChatGPT. And I do this quite often. And what I personally like to do is I'll blur the background out. So as a background image, I blur it out. So what's in the image isn't that really significant. But it's so cool because you can do this for cities as well. So you can say, hey, create me a horizontal image, 1920 by 1080 resolution of blank city. Or sometimes I'll say, actually, I did it just this morning. I said, give me 3 images of this. Um, and you can say, yeah, give me another three, make it a sunset, make it more colorful. You can kind of give these prompts and you can get some really interesting images. I also do like to say, make it hyper realistic, right? So it's not too cartoony, it's really realistic. And then I'll use that as the background image of my thumbnails. And then all you really need to do is add your face to it and then add some text, and you got a really good, decent thumbnail. So for thumbnails, I do incorporate ChatGPT. And the final thing you can use it for is just ideation, right? What is like your content strategy? What are your ideas for videos? And you can I like to, when I give a prompt, I like to say, like, what is your role? Like, your role is as a real estate agent creating YouTube content about your local market. What is the goal? The goal is to educate consumers about your local real estate market to ultimately generate leads. And then you can say, okay, that's your role, that's your goal. And then you say, create me a list of 10 YouTube video ideas that would appeal to somebody who's researching moving to my area. And boom, it'll give you 10 YouTube video ideas about your local market. Say, hey, give me 10 more, give me 50 more. And just like that, like you spend 20, 30 minutes, you can come up with enough ideas for YouTube videos to last you an entire year. If you're doing one video a week, that's 52 video ideas right there that you need. You can get 52 video ideas from ChatGPT in a matter of minutes. And so that's actually a big concern a lot of people say is like, I don't know what to create. Man, ChatGPT has got you covered. It can help you with the thumbnails, help you with the titles, help you with the tags, help you with the description of the video as well. So yeah, ChatGPT is a fantastic companion to go along with YouTube content these days.
So while you were doing that, I created this thumbnail.
Love it.
I basically just said, create a thumbnail for a YouTube video about the Austin housing market crashing. Don't use any text, which it still did, because I always find the text is wrong.
Yeah.
Make it very realistic and make it clickable and sensational and make it 16:9 ratio. So that's a quick idea of what I would do. And then typically what I would do, and I don't know what you use for the rest of your editing, but I use PicMonkey. And so I would just bring it in PicMonkey here, add my sensational photo. This video is doing really well. And all I did was Google hurricane, Googled house, and this took me like 8 minutes to create. So, but I had done ChatGPT like 9 times to come up with this, and I couldn't find ChatGPT just was not doing it very well. It tried very hard. So ChatGPT can be a really good tool. I like to use PicMonkey as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool to help you out, but don't be dependent. Don't think it's going to do it for you. Like, don't say, oh, it gave me this title. I just used the title. Like, no, use it as inspiration. You still need that human component. But yeah, dude, it can be huge. I love that. Let me share my screen. I actually made a thumbnail just today using ChatGPT.
What
And
is the
so
Chrome plugin that you were talking about?
yeah, great, man. I'll show you that in a second. And so these 3 thumbnails right here, I just did this one 1 hour ago, published this video, and this is all these background images, sorry, this one at least, is from ChatGPT. Like it created that background image and I just add my face to it. Mine are not as sensational, like they could be more sensational, but yeah, I use that all the time. I literally use it for the background images. And so the Chrome plugin that I have, what is it called? Let me see.
So while you're
Chat.
doing that, I like to use the uh, Chat GPT to come up with ideas too. A lot of times I just don't know what I want the thumbnail to look like. And so I'll put it in and ask it a few different questions and a few different variations. And then then I'll go, oh, you know what? I can just create this how I want to create it. So I think what you're saying most is use ChatGPT to come up with the ideas. You're still going to have to come up with the script. You can even
Yeah.
use ChatGPT to come up with the script on here, which we didn't talk about. I know what I've been doing is I created on ChatGPT, I created like a prompt. And so now all I have to do, I basically said, act as a copywriter, because this is what Will Draper talked about on our thing. Act as a copywriter, take this article and make it so I can say the most important pieces in a quick video, make it very SEO rich and make it very sensational, have a good hook and a good call to action at the end. I went through and tweaked it a few times. So it's funny is some of the videos I've done are now getting a lot of views, and a lot of it has to do just because the words I said in the videos, which ChatGPT wrote the script. And you can even see like I'll do the hook and then I start to turn and my guy will edit. So my short stuff will edit my turn, and then all I'm doing is reading directly off the script. And so he's just putting in all the B-roll, and then it comes back to me like, what do you think? Right. So
I love it. Yeah, I don't really use it for script writing very often, but I have used it to write articles, and then I use those articles as an outline for
yeah.
video. I'm just not much of a script reader. I prefer just kind of winging it. I feel like it kind of comes out off a little more natural for me. So let me show you the plugin that I use. So is this one right here, ChatGPT and YouTube Summary by Glasp. And let me show you what it does. So let's say you have a video, like this video here. I can click on this little icon on the top left corner, and then it takes me to ChatGPT, where it automatically imports the transcript and then gives me a summary of the video right there, just all automatically. And then so from here, I can then say, write me a YouTube video description based on this summary and 10 sensational YouTube titles. And then based on that summary of my transcript, here's my description. Just copy and paste it. That's actually a little bit long. I probably would have told it to do it a little bit shorter. And then here's some great titles. Discover Lexington Park, Maryland, the ultimate locals guide. 10 must-see attractions, Lexington Park, Maryland. Why Lexington Park, Maryland is a perfect place to live. It's that easy. It would have taken me forever to create that stuff on my own. For me to make a list of 10 possible titles and write a description like that. And it's a matter of seconds that you can do it. It's amazing.
Well, you know what's cool about what you did there too. I'll show you what we're doing is very similar to what you just did. What we're doing is going into our Lofty account. So this is my website, right? So in Lofty on the back end on marketing, I can create blogs, landing pages. Like what's really cool is like all of our YouTube videos that are listing videos, we actually like drop into the website here. So when you click on it, it actually has a listing video. But what's cool about that is then we take basically what you just did, take and create blogs out of each one of those, drop it on the website, okay? And then go over to ChatGPT and put those same blogs on ChatGPT, or not Google Business Profiles. And then this Google Business Profile then connects back to my website.
That's
So
cool.
this, believe it or not, is getting me more business than YouTube is.
The blogging?
Putting the blogs on there and running everything to Google Business Profiles, I'm getting more direct Google searches. So anybody's searching, I'm getting more Google searches from this. And so I'm getting business directly from YouTube, but I'm just repurposing the same thing. It's driving more people to us. So creating the blogs out of the videos that you create on YouTube. So you make your video on YouTube, do that same scriptwriter, ChatGPT, go over, create a blog out of it, take that blog, and then I use this to email our database as well. Like this one, we emailed out to the database this week, and we did the same thing, copied it, and then all the same charts, put all the charts and everything in there. So nice little way to do that.
I love it.
So, oh, I lost the chat. Let's see. What's the name of the plugin again?
Let me pull it up again.
Glasp. Oh yeah, they put it here they put it in the comments.
ChatGPT YouTube Summary by Glasp.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So any other questions on ChatGPT? Because I want to keep rolling. He does have a hard out 5 minutes before, and I want to make sure we get all our questions answered. All right. The next question that everybody usually asks me is, how do I get more clicks? How do I get more views?
Yeah.
Why don't you take us through that?
Yeah, so that's the first battle that you have to overcome right there is how do you actually get people to click on your video in the first place? And what's interesting is that you don't really have that challenge in other social media platforms, do you? Like on YouTube, videos just automatically, or sorry, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, the video just automatically starts playing. So on those platforms, what's most important is getting their attention and hooking them in the first second or two. On YouTube, you have to get them to click on your video in the first place. And getting somebody to click on your video really comes down to three things. The first one, and the most important one, is the actual concept of the video. If you're making a boring video, nobody's going to click on it. If you're making a video about what is an escrow account, no matter how much you polish that turd, nobody's going to find that interesting and click on that video. So you have to come up with interesting concepts for a video in the first place. And somebody like Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber of all times, him and his friends just sit around racking their brains, masterminding about ideas for videos. Like that's it. Just what kind of content, what kind of idea can we come up with that people would actually click on? And so, for example, like you could do 10 things to know before, like instead of doing, like relocation guide to Annapolis, Maryland, do 10 things to know before moving to Annapolis, Maryland. My biggest regrets about moving to Annapolis, Maryland. Annapolis, Maryland real estate market is on fire. These concepts of videos are just a little bit more sensational, a little bit more clickable concepts. The next I'd say is going to be the thumbnail of your video. And the thumbnail comes down, I see the thumbnail as a stop sign, right? A scroll stopper. Somebody's scrolling through their feeds, scrolling through the search results. You need something that stops them in their tracks and gets their attention. That's the purpose of the thumbnails, to get people's attention. And that's why you actually don't need text in your thumbnail. The whole purpose is to get their attention, and then they read the title after that. And so there are best practices for thumbnails. One is increase the contrast in the image and in the background. You want high contrast images. You don't really want really washed down images. You want to increase the saturation of your image. You want bright colors. You want to increase the brightness of your image as well. Darker thumbnails don't typically do as well as brighter thumbnails. If you have text in the thumbnails, you want it to be easily readable. So add a border to it, add a drop shadow to the text, add a background square behind the text, just to make it so that you can easily read it just at first glance when you first look at it. And if you're going to use words, you don't have to, but if you're going to use words, do 5 words or less. The fewer the words, the better, because you want something that somebody doesn't have to actually read. You want to just, they look at it and they just instantly process what those words are. And then if you use your face, you don't have to, but if you use your face in it, make your face big. I mean, not that big. Like this is a good framing for a thumbnail right here. A lot of times people put their faces way too small, or maybe it's like kind of awkward and like down here in the corner. You want it pretty big. What I usually do is about chest high, and then the top of my head is just below the top of the frame. Another thing I like to do is follow the rule of thirds. This is a rule that you often see in videography, photography, design, where if you were to draw vertical lines dividing this frame, this horizontal frame, into thirds, you either want to be on one of those lines or clearly in one of those thirds. And so I could be in 1/3 and then the other 2/3 could be something else. And the same applies horizontally. If there's horizontal lines dividing this frame into thirds, generally I try to get my eyeballs at about 1/3. So for me, I try to get my eyeballs about 1/3 from the top and then about 1/3 from the side of the frame. So rule of thirds, you can kind of apply these concepts to your design of the thumbnails. Now, the third thing that really influences clicks is going to be the title of the video. And too often people look at their titles as a headline. No, sorry, they look at it as a label, where they just label it like a relocation guide or how to buy a house. These are labels. You want to look at your title as a headline, like a headline of a newspaper. So you want to make it sensational. You want to get their attention. You have to entice them to click using those words in that title. And so there's unfortunately a lot of people who say like, oh, I want to optimize for SEO, and they do this keyword stuffing stuff where they put all these keywords in there and they're optimizing, trying to optimize for the algorithm, but they're not optimizing it for the human being, right? And it makes it harder to read when you have living in Maryland, buying a home in Maryland, Maryland real estate agent as the title of your video. And what's interesting is by optimizing for the human being, you actually are optimizing for the algorithm, right? Because a big factor in the algorithm is the click-through rate, if people actually click on the video or not. And that is more important than keyword stuffing and having all these SEO keywords in the title, is getting people to click on your video. So those are kind of
Let's take a
yeah.
quick pause there, because I think that that's a good point. let me pull up a couple of channels, people that are on the channel right now.
Uh-oh.
And let's be friendly and tear apart some videos. What do you think?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So this is living in Greenville, South Carolina. I don't even see your name on here though. Is it a team? Let's see who put this on here. Anyway, go ahead and start picking apart some of these videos.
All right, I'm gonna tear it apart. All
Evan,
right,
there
so
you
let's
go.
let's take a look at the first one. Best places to eat in Greensville. I mean, I would probably try to expand that title a little bit, you know. Can you add a few more adjectives in there just to expand it a little bit? Like you do want to, you know, you do want to keep titles relatively short, but I still feel like you could spice that up a little bit, you know. And then as far as the thumbnail goes, you know, yeah, I don't know. I would have tried different variations of that thumbnail. Again, it's very dark. It kind of looks like a picture of you at a restaurant. I don't know. I'm not too wild about that thumbnail. What I probably would have done is maybe a picture of you like pointing and like there's a restaurant, but like the name is blurred out or you can't see the logo. And that creates that like, wow, what is this place? Um, and also like even the concept for a video. I'm not a huge fan. So those types of videos, just it's okay to make them. Just understand that they're not really going to generate you leads. That's the truth. Like they can serve a purpose in a sales funnel of just staying in front of your audience, providing value. If you have an email list, you can email those out. That's not my favorite type of video for generating leads. So I would have redone that entire thumbnail and try to spice up the title a little bit. Next one over, best places to live. So your title is Greenville's take on top four ranking. Very confusing title. I don't know what that means, and I guess you have to read the thumbnail in order to kind of understand it. So best places to live. Yeah, I would have redo that as well. You know, here's my top five picks for best neighborhoods in Greensville, South Carolina. Something like that could have been better than Greensville take on top four rankings. Like the title is really, really important. Um, and then again, you have a lot of text there. You have to be conscious of the timestamp that shows up in the bottom right corner of all thumbnails. And so that's kind of covering up that last two letters of that word there. Um, yeah, so I think your thumbnails have room for improvement. The pros and cons thumbnail is probably my favorite one out of all of these right here. And then even the one, the secrets to finding incredible deals on homes, that thumbnail is not bad. I kind of like that. And if you had an arrow like that for your top restaurants, like that could have been a good concept for the thumbnail as well. What are your thoughts, Jeremy?
No, actually 100% agree. I think the best one that I like is probably that same one. The ranked number 4 is interesting, but I don't know what that blue shape is. So that's why I was like, I would just get rid of the blue shape on that one, find out why Greenville's like find out why that title needs to go.
Yeah.
Again, I would chat GPT that. I would chat GPT all of these titles and go back through and try to word shop some of these titles because they
Yeah.
don't make sense. That would be my advice. Let's click on Tammy's real quick.
Yeah, I think your
Oh,
titles have a lot of room for improvement. Some of them are labels and not headlines like they should be. And what's interesting is some of those thumbnails like were good. Some of you have a great big face, really colorful, and then other ones like your face is really kind of small and down in the corner. So the pros and cons is probably the best thumbnail out of those. I would try to emulate that on your other ones.
what happened here?
I put the link back in the chat.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
that
these
okay.
thumbnails are terrible right there. Oh man, who created those?
And we look, those are mine. That's, I mean, again, this is for my agent tactics. I'm not trying to
Yeah,
do anything crazy with this. So,
yeah, I'm joking.
for a long time, this has just been a catch-all, and I honestly don't care about these thumbnails. Christina's is probably the best one. I'm just trying to get them out there. My main channel, totally
Right.
different scenario. But here's Tammy's.
Okay, good. You have a lot of great elements here. I love how big your face is and all of these. I love how bright your face is. I love that you're smiling. I like that you have these nice background images. Some of them, some of them like the Explore a Hidden Gem in Gainesville, Florida, like, okay, it says Gainesville city limit. You know, I would just be careful about small text like that. Um, And okay, it looks like you have that in all of your thumbnails, that little sign. Maybe that's okay. But yeah, some of these I would just be cautious of having small text. Even the second one there, the estate of Wild's plantation versus Wild plantation. It's just a lot of words. Maybe if you could somehow simplify that, even if you just had a verses, like that one there, verses. I love two panel thumbnails for verses, which is what you have. You have a verses there, but maybe add a verses, add a line going through them, add some more contrast between the two of them. That one again, if you focus on that one, I'd say like you could have increased the saturation to make the skies bluer. You could increase the contrast on the background image as well to make it kind of pop out a little bit more. A lot of these, I feel like the contrast and saturation could be up for a lot of them. A lot of kind of like muted colors in some of these. And again, with that one right there, the verses, if you look at how small your face is, and I know it gets tricky, having, a two-panel thumbnail, do you put your face in there or not? I'd say if you are going to put a face, make it big or just not have a face at all. And so
Yeah.
in that one, you could have had two panels and then your face in the middle kind of going like curious, something like that.
I
Um,
feel like there's a lot going on in all of these thumbnails, and I'm not sure where to look.
yeah, I don't, I don't, I
Uh,
don't, I don't like the green
I might
screen.
have that same problem on my thumbnails, but like let's start with the Greenville, Florida, the second one over. The key differences between estates of
Mm,
like it's has so much text in there. I would word shop this and figure out how to get that shorter. Um, I don't know where to look on these two. Um, and the verses is so small because you got to imagine this is how like when you're looking at it and you're making it, it's much bigger than what you're seeing in real life. So I can't read these words. So this is a good example too. Like, and especially since these are two things, I would put something here in the middle to really let me know there's two photos here. Otherwise, I can't figure it out. Um, Again, you're right. The saturation, like on this one, you could have really saturated this, so I could have really seen the house. But the moving to township, there's too much going on. I would simplify it a little, some of these a little bit.
I like her very last one the most, honestly, out of all of them. And
This one
again,
right here.
because it's simple. I would just take out
Yeah,
that Gainesville sign. It's hard to read, and I don't really get it. But that's
yeah.
the simplest one right there, and it's just clean. It could use it more saturation and contrast though.
I personally like the Gainesville city limit thing because I use the Austin city limit in mine.
Oh,
The challenge is Gainesville's such a long word, it's hard to read in there. So when you go that small, you can't actually read Gainesville. So I would take it out. I agree. I would scrub that. And then I like how you blurred the background a little bit right
mhm.
here. So you're the focus, and then Suburban Heights is the focus, but the Gainesville throws me off a little bit.
Yeah. And then
Are these all? I got a question. Are these property tour videos or are these neighborhood videos? Because they look like I can't tell.
Neighborhood videos.
Okay.
And my coach thought using what you did with the Austin city limit, he was worried that maybe suburban heights, people didn't understand that these are communities, not cities.
Yeah.
And they might be thinking these are cities instead, and then not wanting to
Yeah.
click on them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate the Gainesville city limit thing, but again, it's hard to read when you make it that small
So would it be
yeah.
better just to have just the subdivision name on each one and put the Gainesville, Florida in the
in the
description?
title. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I can do that. I can rework them all, no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Let's
you.
uh let's stop there and we'll get to some later. I because it's 30 minutes in. I want to keep going on our next topic. Is that cool with you?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. I forgot what we had for the next one. Now I gotta pull up my email. What did you have next?
Oh, geez. What else can we talk about? We can talk about mistakes that agents make.
Let's talk about mistakes. Yes, mistakes. I like that.
Okay. Mistakes that agent make. So I think like trying to optimize for the algorithm. I'm not a fan of doing that and trying to keyword stuff, right? Keyword stuffing your titles, keyword stuffing your descriptions. And now people are keyword stuffing their videos themselves, right? Because they know that YouTube creates a transcript of a video and they do look at what you're talking about in there. And so you see people trying to awkwardly saying stuff like, hey, if you're thinking about moving to Gainesville, Florida, and you're looking for a Gainesville, Florida real estate agent, and you need help buying your Gainesville, Florida home, like I see people doing that stuff just to get that in the transcript. And again, like I would just focus on the human being, optimize your content for the human being. If you think about any algorithm, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, any of these things, what the algorithm is trying to do is quantify a good user experience, right? And they have all these metrics of how long the user watches, what they click on, what they do afterwards to kind of try to quantify that. But it actually makes our job really easy. If we just give the best consumer experience, the best user experience that we can with our content, that is optimizing for the algorithm. So a lot of the little hacks and stuff I wouldn't worry about. The same thing with tags. I think a lot of people, try to do really broad tags like buying a home, selling a home, Zillow, Realtor.com. None of that stuff works either. And YouTube can actually penalize you for trying to game manipulate the system like that. So that whole argument, optimize for the human being, not the algorithm. It'd be one mistake that people do. I'd say making the wrong type of content is also going to be a mistake. And
Like food content on a real estate channel?
yes, yeah. So for
Sorry,
for the
Evan.
most part, generally speaking, like if you do stuff like interviewing your principal of your high school and interviewing local business owners, I know a lot of people do that, and it can provide some value. Just understand that that content is not going to do very well on YouTube organically, and it's not the type of content that generates you leads. There's some content that generates leads and other content that it can provide value. So, okay. So if you look at a basic sales funnel, you have top, middle, and bottom of a sales funnel. And top is how you get discovered by somebody. The middle of the funnel is kind of how you keep staying in front of them for weeks and months on end, or how you build relationships with them. And then the bottom of the sales funnel is really like some sort of call to action. And that basic framework can apply to a YouTube channel. It's a little fuzzy with the boundaries with that. But how I look at it is instead there are three separate goals, right? And one of the goals is creating discoverable content that's going to reach a new audience and build you an audience. And this is what Jeremy really focuses on, is the content that's going to build an audience. The content about like interviewing local principals and talking about top restaurants, like that is middle of funnel content. It can serve a purpose in an overall marketing strategy, but just kind of understand like that is content just to kind of stay in front of an audience that you already built, and it's not going to actually build you an audience. And so this shouldn't be what you really focus on. If you're newer, focus on the top of funnel content that's going to allow you to get discovered by a new person and build your audience in the first place. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I see people that really focus on that middle funnel stuff, and they never even build an audience in the first place. I'd say that's kind of a mistake. There's the content strategy of a lot of agents. And then,
So
there's this.
let me
Yeah,
ask you that. Let me ask you this then, all right? So I'm starting off. I want to create a strategy. What does that strategy look like? I like how you talked about funnels, right? Because there's videos that I know when I put them out, I have this $22 million video. That's either going to go one way or the other, right?
yeah,
One way is it's just showing my database, my people, that I can sell $22 million homes. The other is it could go viral for a $22 million home. But most likely it's not going to go viral. It's just going to hit the middle of people that show that I can do luxury. So if I want to create a good strategy where I show a little bit of luxury, I show what I do, but show everything. What's the top of the funnel content I should create? What's the middle of the funnel? And then what's the lower level content I should be creating as a strategy?
yeah, great question. Like I had an interview with Raj Sahu as well, and he says that sometimes he does these luxury home tours, and he knows like none of his clients actually want to buy that house, but those videos get tens of thousands of views, and like that's top of funnel, right? That's building an audience. And so for us, I say that the audience that you want to build is people relocating to your area and interested in moving to your area. And so that's the top of funnel, is kind of targeting people who are researching moving to and living in and then your city's name. And so top of funnel content would be like 10 things to know before moving to Annapolis, Maryland, pros and cons of living in Annapolis, Maryland, top 5 neighborhoods in Annapolis, Maryland, my 5 biggest regrets about after moving to Annapolis, Maryland, the true cost of living in Annapolis, Maryland. This is top of funnel. This is going to do very well with the browse feature on YouTube, which is essentially like the homepage on YouTube. It's going to do well with suggested videos, going to do well with search. This is going to build you an audience. And that alone could be your entire sales funnel. You could just focus on that type of content and that'll generate you leads. But if you want to take it a step further, you can then add that middle layer of content, which is not going to get as much views, but it's going to provide value to the audience you already have. And this is where you can do like interviews. One series I used to like to do is I would find local parks and I would shoot a little vlog of me going and exploring that local park, talking about it with my family. And like that's nobody's going to discover me from that video, but it's going to provide value. It's going to continue to build that relationship with my audience. And, let's say you have 1,000 subscribers. If that's what you need to do in order to stay in front of your audience, it's going to continue that relationship with them. So that'd be middle of funnel content. The top 5 restaurants in the area, interviews with other people, that could be middle of funnel. Bottom of funnel, the way I look at it is that bottom of funnel, you can create a dedicated bottom of funnel video. This is a strict sales video. And I think it is okay to do this every now and then. Like, hey, today I'm going to have a conversation with my clients who I helped buy their first home, or hey, this is the exact marketing strategy that I used in order to sell this home for $20,000 above list price. And this is a straight up just sales video. This video is not going to rank anywhere. It's not going to do well in search or browse or suggested. It's really only there for the people that are the audience that you already have. And you want to do these pretty sparsely, right? Gary Vee says jab, 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 right hook. But every now and then I think it's okay to do that. And I also kind of see bottom as funnel as sort of like the systems that you have in place to convert people and actually close those people. So maybe bottom of funnel will be setting up a Calendly link in your description and have people schedule a video call for you, right? And so they discover you and then they follow you for a few weeks and then they finally schedule a call with you. Maybe they're not quite ready, so you circle them back into that middle funnel and they keep seeing your content moving forward. Another way to look at it is like property searches, setting somebody up on a property search is sort of middle funnel. It's a way to stay in front of them. So that's kind of my ideas of how to kind of adopt that traditional sales funnel into content creation. And just kind of keep that in mind. Like, is this going to build me a new audience, or is this going to just kind of continue the relationship that I already have with my audience? Those are the two like primary categories.
That's good. I like that. I mean, there's so much in there that I could go back and forth on and elaborate on. But I think if one thing you said earlier, and it stuck in my brain, is not being salesy in the video. But you got to get people to reach out to you, right? And so where you have a video that you say, hey, by the way, I had a client reach out to me and they went into the description right here. They found this link in my description and then they reached out to me. We actually just went under contract and here's what happened with them in this scenario. And it could just be related to what you're talking about, new construction. It could be talking about what talking about what's happening in the market in your area, all of those things. But that is such a nice, easy way to go. They went into my description, they found this, they clicked on it here, and they actually booked a call with me. And then we actually went forward. You were literally telling your audience how to reach out to you without being salesy. And then you could share the success story. One video, I mean, a lot of agents say, oh, these only get buyers. I don't get any listings out of this. I'm telling you, when you create content talking to sellers, what they're facing in this market, I just went on a $2.4 million listing that I got, and it was because I talked about the market and what sellers are facing. I have a property that I'm shooting a video on this week that they listed with me. And from the very beginning, I explained them that with this marketing, with this, what's happening in the market, they need to price here. They are pricing extremely too high. Well, after 4 months of being on the market, I kept telling them, look, you are still priced way too high. They did not want to listen to me. Had we priced it, they ended up firing me because they didn't want to listen. They hired another agent and took another $75,000 loss on top of what they would have had I had just told them where to start off in the very beginning. So that's a video we're shooting this week because the problem I'm facing in this market, and maybe you're facing this market, sellers just aren't listening and being realistic. So you have to be a little harsh sometimes and tell people what the reality of the market is, because how many times do you have a seller go, I want to price my home for $1 million. And you're like, this is a $700,000 home. What are you talking about? Okay, I'll take $1 million listing that sits and sits and sits. So
Yeah, I think call to actions is a great conversation as well.
Yeah.
Because that is another mistake that a lot of agents make is that they have too strong of call to action. So okay, another mistake. Hold on, you got me going now. Another mistake is not getting to the content soon enough in your videos. When you start a video, you need to start your video off with a hook. And a hook is essentially hyping up the value that they're going to get out of this video. And so you need to start off a video with a hook. And what a lot of agents then do is they have a call to action after that, and it's way too long. I've seen people doing like 30-second call to actions, minute-long call to actions. I see people starting videos off with a freaking minute-long call to action talking about how great they are. You cut all that out. Jeremy and I may actually disagree when it comes to call to actions, but I'd say it's okay to have, I allow people to 5-second call to action after your hook. Have a hook, 5-second call to action, and then get to the content. And so for me, what I do, I'll say something like, hey, real quick, can I, fuck, what do I say? I say, hey, real quick, my name is Malcolm Lawson. I'm a real estate agent with livinginmaryland.com. Interested in moving to this area? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Link down in the description below to set up a one-on-one video call. Something like that. It's a little bit different. And then I get right into the content. And then for me, I like having some call to actions at the end of the video as well. As far as the algorithm goes, one of the most important call to actions that you can have is getting people to watch another video. And so I'll often say, hey, if you want to, or now that you know what the true cost of living is here in Annapolis, Maryland, check out this video right here to find out what the top 5 neighborhoods are. What I think are the 5 best neighborhoods here in Annapolis, Maryland, and try to actually pitch that other video and have one specific video. As far as the algorithm goes, that's one of the best call to actions. You can only have those end screens up for the last 20 seconds of a video, so you can't do that until the last 20 seconds. So what I usually do is I have that takes about 10 seconds, and then I have another 10-second call to action. And just, so have that and say, and I am a Maryland real estate agent. If you're thinking about moving here, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Link to all my contact information down in the description below. So I do a call to action at the beginning, and I have these 2 call to actions at the end. I love what Jeremy's talking about here by kind of sneakily incorporating these call to actions and alluding to them. And what's really interesting is you see when YouTubers have sponsors for videos, they used to stop videos like, hey, just real quick, let me announce the sponsor of a video and spend a minute talking about it. A newer trend is people like naturally incorporating those sponsors just into the video, and trying to find good segues into that. And that's kind of what Jeremy is doing here as well, which I love. So there's definitely a really cool idea as well as to do that. But yeah, no, I love that call to action. I still like to doing some pretty straightforward call to actions though, just to really clearly state like, hey, I am a real estate agent. That is why I'm creating this content.
Chase, go ahead.
On a similar kind of topic of call to action, how are you converting, right? So like, what is that link in your description? I have a landing page where they have 2 options. They send me a direct email or they book a Calendly call or appointment, but I'm always wanting to optimize that and not have somebody jump through too many hoops. And I'm finding that straight up just the email option, like they click it and it auto populates on their phone, like my email address, a subject line already for them. That's the best thing for me, but I'm always wanting to refine that process and hopefully create higher conversion. So I'm curious what y'all are maybe doing.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. The other thing I did, and I'll let Malcolm go. We got a system called CallRail. And so CallRail, you can have multiple phone numbers. And so we have just one phone number that comes directly from YouTube and it's in there. So they has a phone number and it calls, it'll tell me if it calls like, hey, it's a call from YouTube. I'll know it's a YouTube call. A lot of times we're getting them from Google now because like I said, everything's moving to Google, but CallRail is a good source. I like what you're doing there. I would definitely continue to use that. I think the smart thing to do is in a video, just maybe say, hey, like we just had a client that like what I was saying, they clicked this link and it went right to me. And then so we set up a call and from there, they're in a contract or they just closed. What they loved most is blah, 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 whatever. Right. But don't make it super salesy. But the more you direct them in the video where to go, it tells them this is how to get in touch with me.
Yeah. And so what I would say that you have a couple options. If you have your contact information, the phone number and email address in the actual video, you will get more leads by doing that. So if you're starting off and you just want leads, I still believe like that is the best way to get the most number of leads. But if you want better quality leads, you want to make them jump through a few hoops. So what I prefer, honestly, is that people go to my website and fill out a contact form, and then I can reach out to them when I'm available. That's what I prefer. And so I may not get as many leads that way, but the quality of leads is going to be a lot higher and it's going to be a lot more convenient for me. So that's actually the one that I prefer. Another kind of trap or another pitfall for putting your contact information in your video, just make sure that's contact information that you own and that you're going to have for next 10 years. A lot of my earlier videos had a KW email address. And now what do? I have like 100 videos with a KW email address in it, and I can't really do anything. So you just make sure you own that. And today, like my favorite my favorite call to action is to schedule a video call with Calendly. That's kind of my primary thing. I don't even want people calling me. Like if they're just calling me, they're not serious enough. Like I want people, I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to be on the phone trying to schedule a date and time with them. Like, no, if you're serious, go to my Calendly, schedule a video consultation with me, because that's where the back and forth is going to go anyway. I always try to get them on a video call. And I think like that's actually a lot of value there, right? A lot of people talk about like, oh, what's your lead magnet? My lead magnet is an hour-long consultation with me. Like that is incredibly valuable to a lot of buyers, and it's far more convenient for me. So that is my primary one. But if you're just starting off, you're trying to get some leads, I think just having your contact information so they can call you directly, probably will get you more leads. It's not as high of quality.
During my 20-second kind of call to action, something I started doing is realizing that since a lot of people were watching on their television, I put a QR code on the screen, right? And it takes them to that same landing page that is in the description.
That's cool.
And again, trying not to be salesy, but we're just like, hey, the reason we make these videos is because if you're going to move here, I want to be your real estate agent. So scan that QR code or down below, because it's like they're probably on their phone while they're watching the TV. And I found that to be good. So I think, okay.
I like that.
I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, maybe I need to start doing that. I did put a QR
code, and I own that QR code, right? Like it's
Yeah.
through Bitly or whatever it is.
I put one in my YouTube banner recently as well. So again, if they're on the TV, they're on the computer, they can just scan that and get, it actually just links them right to my video call.
We got 5 minutes left. So what other questions you have before we got to bounce out one of the best guys I know? So Jamie, I know you've always got lots of good questions. You're full of them. Drop that in there. Tom, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming back. Greg, looking good, man. George, fresh cut, man. I like it. All right, Venus, what do you got? Venus is growing a YouTube channel right now. Come on, Venus, ask one question. Unmute yourself and ask one question. Here we go. There we go.
So I went to a neighborhood this week, brand new neighborhood, and I did a tour of all of the models. So my intention is to do 4 videos out of it, one for the full neighborhood and then one for each builder centric. But I'm going to do a mix of at my computer and what I went and took. I have 2 different cameras, and so I used my GoPro for the tours, and I'll be using just a regular at-home camera. Is that going to be like a visual conflict?
It could. GoPros have a really wide field of view, so that could kind of be a little goofy, but I mean, you can make it work, It just maybe everything's kind of wide and then everything's kind of narrow, but no, that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, no, I love that. I think home tours for new construction is like a gold mine right there. I think it's untapped territory right there. So there's a newer model, right? A lot of us probably have educational informational channels right now, and that's a very established model. But there's this newer model of doing home tours like Raj Sahu does of these new construction communities. And I love this. I think this is like another opportunity to take this digital territory before anybody else does. And those seem to work pretty well for him. And new construction works better for this model than resales. The big reason for that is that home is going to be relevant and people can actually buy that home for a year, 2 years, 3 years. They may be selling that model versus a resale. That home is off the market within a few weeks. So they're really only watching it just to kind of entertainment purposes, kind of get familiar with the market. They can't actually buy that house anymore. So I love new construction videos like that. The real question is, should that be on a separate channel or should it be on your educational channel? And that's kind of a tricky one. And what I say is if you do a lot of home tours, it's probably worth it to start a separate channel of just home tours. Does seem to be a different audience than educational stuff. But if you're doing a home tour every now and then, I think it's fine to have that on an educational channel like that.
Great,
Yeah,
thank
Matt
you.
Gozi and I were talking about that this morning because Matt sent me, he's like, man, these videos that I've been doing aren't getting the same watch time as the rest of my videos. And I said, yeah, because they're home tours. And the challenge is your people are coming in for this larger information, are coming in and they maybe see 2 or 3 minutes of that video and then they're bored because it's not what they're on your channel for. So, and he's like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you got to go one way or the other with those. You can add them on there. It's just know that if you continue to put them on your main channel and you're talking about bigger topics, you will run into a problem with them not getting the same watch time. Like that $22 million one I did. I knew it wasn't going to get a ton of watch time, but it still is a great video for my channel. Evan asked a good question. How do you guys hand off leads to agents on your team? So what I try to do in my videos is say that we are a team, that, you know, there's this person on my team or that person on my team. I have a good person that this, or I always like to try to tell maybe experiences about like what my wife does, Eileen. I'll have buyers come through right now. I'm like, hey, I know that Eileen's going to help me. So can you put me in touch with Eileen? So I would talk about your team as you're doing stuff and show that you're a team. Maybe you don't have to have them on camera, but I would allude to the fact that because we have so many amazing clients that we're wanting to help, we want to make sure we're giving you a ton of really good service. So we have agents that help in all these different specific areas, and the handoff becomes a lot easier.
Yeah,
because I've had that problem.
Yeah,
I've
the
had that problem.
handoff's tricky because they
Yeah.
build a relationship with you and they want to work with you. And if you're like, oh, hey, go work with this other person. So you just have to be very sensitive with that. And one line I started using is, hey, I actually have a buyer agent who really specializes in this. I'm letting him work with all my buyer clients, but I'm always going to be involved as well. And I'm always going to be here as a resource. If you have any issues at all, come back to me. And really, you're going to get both of us working to help you out with this.
Yeah.
He's just going to be the one showing property and writing the offers for you.
Yeah.
And something like along those lines, I think really helps with that conversion.
Yep. Other question for you is, you have separate channels for educating clients, process versus lead generation, local evergreen content.
Yeah, so like a channel should be focused on one audience. And I recommend that people make the audience people interested in moving to your area and educating them. If you're going to make like general educational content about home buying tips and how to sell your house, that's going to be more of a national audience rather than a local audience. And I would just be careful about mixing these two audiences. I do see them as separate audiences. So generally, I'm not a fan of putting general education, real estate education on your local channel. The same challenge with the home tours. Home tours seem to be a different audience than educational videos.
Completely.
And you can tell people, hey, go check out my second channel, but they do seem to be a separate audience. And those probably should be the best practice would be to put those on separate channels.
Yeah, I agree with that. I run into that problem because I want to do property tours for my listings. And I know they're not going to do well on my main channel, but I started building a secondary channel. And I think the problem I ran into just trying to keep up with 2 channels plus an agent facing channel where we're giving this information out, it became way too much work for what I wanted to do. So I would just, if you're trying to really delineate what your channel is, I would just have a very clear path of what you want to do. Do you want to do educational videos or do you want to do walkthrough property tours? I think both are good. Both can get you business. I know my channel gets me business. Raj's channel gets him business. If you need to bounce out, Malcolm, you're good, man. I know you got a thing. But what are your thoughts on thumbnails with the color red as a dominant color? I think it stands out. I think you're fine. You want it to stand out.
Yeah, one thing with the thumbnail colors is just remember that it's always against, or most of the time it's against a white background. And that's kind of why you want something that stands out against white. The only thing I avoid is just having a kind of a white in my thumbnail because it's white against the white background. And that's why I like having bright colors and high contrasts to really make it pop against that white background. But yeah, all right, man, I'm going to bounce out. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. And yeah, man, I'd be happy to come back on another time.
Awesome. We'll bring you back. Thanks, Malcolm.
See everybody. Bye.
So I'll answer a couple more questions real quick. Jamie asks, what ways to title pros and cons? I love the idea of what people love and hate about an area, right? So maybe use stronger words like love and hate instead of pros and cons. You can actually go into ChatGPT and say, give me different ways to use to write pros and con titles. I really love the love and hate. I haven't really used those because I've kind of moved past the pros and cons, like titling. But I mean, a lot of times I'm doing pros and cons videos and just titling them completely different. Yeah. Anything else? Good. Everybody says
Jeremy,
good. Yep.
I've got a question for you. Maybe this is just all part of the territory, but what I've found is, I get a lot of people that, I've done great with the channel. I've been super thrilled, but I do get a lot of sometimes like very top of the funnel. I've never visited your area, and people come in for 3-4 days, and typically I find it's not enough information for them to be able to make a decision. And I've been trying to funnel everyone to like this tour guide, and kind of I've set up like, hey, this is what you should do for your first few days in the process. Um, and then normally I try to meet them on the back end. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it from like a time efficiency standpoint, because we know, a lot of these people aren't always going to end up moving to our area. So just trying to figure out how to use my time as wisely as possible.
Well, that's partly why I have, at Real, I have a lot of agents in my front line here in Austin. So a lot of times those people that I think that are going to need a little more time than I have available, I just immediately already refer them or put them in touch with one of our agents here locally. They can maybe answer a few more of those questions. So that's one way to do it. The other thing is I would have a really good questionnaire for them to fill out. And if it sounds like they're just looking, I tell them like, look, I'm going to have you drive and check out all these areas. And then, so if you're here 4 days, drive all these areas 2 days, and then let's sit down again day 3 and actually go through everything again. And then day 4, if we need to go look at some of these areas a little more, we can. But I have the same problem too. People that are just, I know they're going to be a time suck, and they're not actually going to move to Austin. It's one of those things you have to figure out. Now, I had somebody that was going to buy a $4 million home, and I'm like, this guy's a joke. There's no way. He bought a $4.5 million home. Didn't use me because I kind of like fluffed him like, this guy's not serious. It just, he was not like, he had no desire, had no real need, showed up, bought a place for 4.5. And I'm like, fuck, I'm selling it for him. But again, like that sucked that happened. Yeah. So I don't have the best answer for that. Just know that the more you can have questionnaires, those booklets, those things, the reality is they're going to have to come out and put their feet on the ground before they can actually decide.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. What other questions do we got before we got to go? Chase, have you had that happen?
Yeah, I call them discovery trips, and
there you go.
I spend a lot of time with people, and I have to bring cough drops with me because I talk so much in the car while they're around. And I'm okay with investing the time. I feel like by the time they get here, they've booked their flight, things along, they've done. There's a level of commitment, and I understand their timeline, but there's definitely people that I've spent, a day with touring a couple homes, and, I never hear from them, or they didn't get the job they were looking for. Right. So
yeah,
part of kind of just the commission lifestyle, I guess, the sales lifestyle, but trying not to judge too many people or stereotype, is this actually going to be legit or not? So as much vetting as we can up front. Jeremy, I am curious about and maybe this is a totally different Friday, call, about the ChatGPT taking a video, blogging it, either property website that you had or the blog, then to Google. The process there, I'm sure you're probably utilizing your VA to do that a little bit.
Yeah. So here's how the process goes: is they use whatever program to pull the transcript from that video, and then we created a basic prompt, And the basic prompt is just basically, take this and create a 5-paragraph blog, make sure it's SEO rich, make sure it's giving the most important information. And then my VA will look at it, send it to me. I'll go, no, change it up a little bit. And then they'll run it through one more time and usually just post it. And then they'll put in the link, they'll put my YouTube video so they can go to the video. What my assistant was messing up was she was putting the video on Google Business, but not having it target back to the website. So you'd go to Google Business and then you could go directly to the video from Google Business, but it wasn't directing them back to my website. So you want it to get them on Google Business to come back and actually have the link. So it's like the information, you got to click the link for the thing. So then it's back to your website. And then the YouTube video is embedded on your website. That way they're already on your website. They can choose to click on something else or then click on the video itself. So for like 2 months, I'm like, why the fuck am I not getting any leads out of all of this Google Business stuff? And I started clicking on it. I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls. So yeah, it's a process where you have to kind of stay on top of your VAs if you have VAs doing it and pay attention to it. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of be basic.
I just hired one literally yesterday. And so that's going to be a part of their main task. It's taking the videos, creating blogs, linking everything together. Right now, I was talking about that landing page where they have 2 options to either send the email. That is not on my website, but I'm thinking about bringing that to the website to further that they're now part of the ecosystem. Anytime they search, we're already there. They feel comfortable on our website using it, just so that everything is funneling basically back to, mine's a Lofty website as well. So
yeah, I like the Lofty websites a lot. We built out a similar landing page with Lofty where it's just join the database. So join the monthly emails. We're struggling with how it tags them in there because it brings them in as a buyer or a seller. And I want that landing page just to be join the weekly emails, because then they'll be spammed with the weekly emails. They're not spammed with the, do you want to buy a home? So we're trying to fix that with Lofty, but I like that. Like the Flowdesk landing page, I built that because I want agents to come in. I don't want agents to get spammed with real broker stuff. I legitimately am trying to give people just good, solid information, right? And so if I put them into our CRM, then they're stuck with buying and selling, and then we got to filter them out. So we went into Flowdesk, and now the only thing they're getting spammed with are the events that are happening on a weekly basis, right? They're not getting hit with, hey, join Real, right? So you're just getting information, and then you can call me if that's something you want to do. So that's why I built that Flowdesk landing page. I'm trying to buy a website for it, agenttactics.com. Somebody already owns the site, so I'm trying to broker a deal with them right now. So then it would be agenttactics.com, and it's just that landing page, and it's got, okay, you want to join the email list? Awesome. Here's all the other stuff. Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions we got? Steven, thank you. I got one more question. I mean, then we can roll. Anybody? Cammy, Frank, Venus, Evan. Evan's always got like 2 more questions. Come on, Evan. Greg, George, with this fresh cut. All right. We're going to end it there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. This will be out Monday. Hopefully we'll get the playbook out. My VA's been out of town, so it might be Wednesday before we get the playbook out for this next week. But thanks. We'll see you on the next one.